Good afternoon, I'm Dan Noone. I'm the CEO of G2 Goldfields. We trade on the Toronto Stock Exchange under the symbol GTWO and also on the OTC QX under the symbol GUYGF. We have a project in Guyana. We put a maiden resource out 2 years ago of 1.2 million ounces, about 9 grams a tonne. And we've been drilling for the last 2 years. We'll be putting out an updated MRE at the end of the first quarter. And we also made a new discovery to the northwest of our main zone in November last year. So, good to see you again, Mel.
Dan, very nice to meet you. It's the first time we've met in person.
It is, actually.
We've done all of these interviews online.
Yeah.
I spoke to you quite recently. We did an online interview in January, so not quite 6 weeks ago. But here we are in Toronto, PDAC, lots of meetings. You've been at BMO, the conference just before this.
Exactly.
And in the last 3 days, the gold price has popped, $100 kind of move, more or less. It's only 6 weeks, but the mood has changed.
Completely. I mean, we started financing with Anglo Gold in January, and really there was no money in the funds. You had to get imaginative about raising money. In the last week since BMO, we've had meetings we had down there and having follow-up meetings now. People are interested in buying gold stocks, so it's hopefully it's broken out and we can, have a good market.
Do you know that Monty Python sketch about the kind of the knight that wants to fight? Kind of the arms have come off and the legs have come off, and it just feels like that the junior resources sector was that kind of that knight kind of going, it's just a flesh wound, it's just a scratch, come back and fight. It was almost as if the optimism was there, but these companies were just kind of broken. And then in the last couple of days with the move at PDAC, you can just feel the optimism come bubbling back. It's really exciting. And you've had a bit of a share price move? We have. We were probably about 70 cents last week, up to 79 today. Yeah. So there's volumes coming back in. So it's a very positive mood, which is good. And your meetings, are you kind of busy here at PDAC? I know, obviously we're busy at BMO, but have you had lots of meetings here? Absolutely, and I've been in front of a few desks as well at some of the brokerage firms here. So, yeah, it's been breakfast meetings through to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's been good. Good. Yeah. Well, I don't want to get you to repeat the pitch, because you probably kind of have done the pitch so many times that you've kind of done it with, what you've said and what you haven't said. But Reunion have just put out a new resource. Yeah, they came out with one in January. It was 5 million ounces at 5.3, I think, at about 2 grams a tonne gold. So yeah, it's just to the south of us. And so they're your immediate neighbours. They're immediate neighbours, contiguous, and there's quite a lot of kind of strike length of the of this kind of prolific geology. They've got a few kilometres, but you've got kind of more kilometres, haven't you, to the north? Yeah. So along the Oko trend, it's about 4.5 kilometres from the base of their resource to the north, where we are at Oko main zone, and then we've got another 15 kilometres of strike length. Running off with 3 other projects along that. We've got Oko Northwest, Tracy and Aramu, which are of the similar scale, about 2.5 kilometres long, with artisanal mining on them, and we're getting into that now. And that's what we drilled in November last year at Oko Northwest, and we put out a hole recently. It was 15 metres at 6 grams. So over a 2.5 kilometre area of about 500 metres wide, we just stuck 24 shallow holes in. Most of them hit I think 16 of them hit what would be considered to be ore grade intercepts, and the best one was 15 metres at 6 grams. So, but that's outside of what you're going to do the resource based
absolutely.
On. So the resource that's coming out in the, you say Q1. Yep. So we're at the kind of not far off to the end of Q1. And you don't have to do the maths. March is the end of Q1, at the end of March, yep. And that resource update is going to focus on Oko main zone and anything else? And Gani. So we've been, after the Oko main zone resource last time, we discovered Gani. That's to the south. That's towards the boundary with Reunion. Exactly. So that'll come into the resource, and it'll be down to about 500 metres we'll have drilled. So, and after that, we're sort of probably going to stop drilling at depth at Oko main zone in Gani, and really focus on Oko Northwest, Tracy and Aramu, and grassroots exploration, and trying to discover along the whole trend what the scope of this is. Why not go down to, I don't know, because Reunion's gone down to about a kilometre, haven't they? Why not? Why wouldn't you want to go down that depth? Well, we're still in discovery phase, and drilling more ounces. Drilling deeper gives you more ounces,
but it doesn't change the scope of the size of the mine that you're going to build. So people say, do you want to do a PA? And we're like, no, we don't even know how big this thing is yet. So we need to keep exploring along strike, figure out how much there is, how many pits you're going to have, that sort of thing. And then, so that's what we're focusing on. And it adds value, we think, for our shareholders.
Is that because the deeper you go, it's not going to change the kind of the throughput in the early years, it's just going to add mine life to the end years?
Exactly.
So if I understand you correctly, you're just trying to, if you know how much surface ounces or ounces per vertical metre you've got in your overall trend, that can help you right size the throughput of your process plant.
Exactly, and so that is that's exactly right, and that's the way we think, and we think it's the best way to spend shareholder money over the next 12 to 18 months.
You did a capital raise with Anglo. It took in $20 million?
$22 million at 90 cents a share.
At 90 cents. And what was your cash position before that?
We had about $6 million, so
Okay.
It took us to 28 million. We're back down to about 25 million now.
Okay, and so that's plenty to keep you going through 2024 and into 2025.
Yeah, we spend about $1 million a month Canadian.
Okay.
So that's our burn rate. We've got 5 rigs going. We'll be between 3 to 5 rigs all year, depending on where we're drilling at. When we're drilling the shallower holes, we get to the holes pretty quick.
Yeah.
As we get deeper, we need more rigs. But we've got 7 out on site, and we've been averaging 5 rigs running at a time.
How do you manage that flow of data?
That's good. We've got 7 geologists, so we actually have a larger staff.
Yeah.
They're going flat out. It's definitely. But yeah, it's just processes, and we can keep up with it, and that's about as much as we can keep up with. About 7,000 metres a month, because it's an iterative process, right?
Yeah.
So the good thing is at Oko main zone in Guyana, there's lots of visible gold, right? So when we're logging the core, you can say there's 10 specs or 4 specs. We sort of know what the grades are going to be, or when you're hitting, or when you've stepped off it. So that's helpful, because it is the turnaround time on the assays, which is the critical point of running these exploration programs.
And have you got any other visual indicators other than the visible gold? I mean, is there kind of an alteration or kind of a veining system or kind of a coloration that helps you?
Yeah, so we have silica iron carbonate sericite alteration,
Okay.
and it's the quartz veining and the grey quartz veining and the stylolites. I mean, there's certainly a lot of things which say that looks pretty good, but when you see the visible gold, you know you're probably north of 10 grams a tonne. So when we see that VG, we go like, okay, we're hitting. It's good.
Okay, so your geos basically have got their eye in, and they know what the alteration package looks like, and are you sampling outside of that alteration zone? I mean, are you still sampling beyond the kind of your visual clues?
Not really now. We used to at the start,
Yeah.
but we're pretty well locked down where the mineralisation is.
Yeah.
And so, we'll sample the odd, every 10 metres if we in a 50 metre gap between veins.
Yeah.
But no, we're pretty well tied down on the alteration. We know what we're looking at. When we start a new project like Oko Northwest, I say the whole hole.
Yeah.
So until you figure out what you're seeing, but because that's one thing. That bogs the lab down if you're spending too many samples to the lab too, right? So we like to, but if we assay a section and it's still got grade at either end, we'll go back and carry on.
Carry
right?
on.
Yeah.
I've worked on projects where having lots of drill rigs kind of chasing behind you kind of puts stress on the decision-making process and can lead to bad decisions.
Yes. We're happy to shut the rig down if we don't let that pressure get to us. We're basically, if we're caught up or we haven't got the assays, we'll just send the drillers home for a month, and so we will vary between 3 to 5 rigs. We're not beholden to the drilling company to have them running all the time, right? So our drilling company is a Guyanese company, so they've been working with us for the last 15, 20 years in various companies, so it's a good relationship.
Okay.
And I mean, basically the cadence of it is when we're going fast, it's all hands on deck, and if we need to take a break, then they'll go home and we'll have a break. But in general, we've got about 3 to 5 rigs running.
And I think it was it April or May last year, you had a consultant geologist come out and you did some work on kind of reinterpretation of the structure and kind of improved your understanding of the vectors on mineralisation.
Yeah, that was Brett Davis out of Australia, and he came out, and we were nearly there. The guys had done a great job on the structural, but we didn't quite have the complete mineralisation and deformation history down pat. And so when we went back to the start and went through it again, basically, okay, there's 3 phases of deformation and folding, and then the mineralising event came in,
Yeah.
and the fluid upflow of the high grade is the intersection of the north-south shears and the actual plane of the F1 folds. And that is the high-grade shoots, which we then targeted in shear 5 and shear 3. And all of a sudden, yeah, we were hitting like, in shear 5, we plotted it out and said, okay, where's all the plus 45 gram hits? And they all lined up on the same lineation that we saw in the core. It's like, okay, let's keep drilling down. And we just kept heading 4.5 metres at 32 grams on average for about another 150 metres down. So it was that was a real eye-opener for us, right? And so we understand where these high-grade shoots are within the system. And for us, high-grade makes all the difference. You know, when you're talking about economics and when you see people like Anglo Gold come in, they're like, that's what they want to see. It's all about low capex, rapid payback. You know, grade matters. So it's
especially when grade matters when you can trace it and delineate it or define it over good continuity.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's not an isolated occurrence or event. One of Brett Davis's big things is orientated core.
Absolutely.
So
we did that from the first hole. We've been orienting core from day one. So, because you know, you don't solve it in the first hole, you don't solve the problem in the 10th hole. But if you get to 50 holes and you haven't been orienting, you can't solve it either. Yeah. So you have to start at the start. So from the first hole, we've been orienting the core. Absolutely.
And that change in your kind of that refining of your structural model and the resource that you're going to be coming out with in the next month or so, has that thinking kind of been incorporated into the drilling that's going to be coming out?
Exactly, and it's also in the model that we're seeing, in which Micron will, you know, they're doing the resource, but because we've tightened up the geology, they've tightened up, you know, they can project the grade in the right directions, right? So last time it was all the way along the shear, but now we know exactly when the high grades are joining up down that plunge to the northeast. So now the model is important, and it's hanging together very well.
The previous resource you had, kind of 1.2 million ounces at 9 grams.
Yep.
Was that mostly inferred?
Yeah, that was like 970 was inferred and the 240 in the indicated.
And is this new resource kind of changing the nature of that, or is it kind of de-risking the known resource, or is it expanding the envelope?
A bit of both, because we have the 5 parallel shears, and the main ones being 3, 4, and 5. So when we're drilling deeper in shear 5, we just did offsets through 3 and 4, so they became indicated. But shear 5, we kept stepping down 80 metres at a time. But in that really high-grade shoot in shear 5, I mean, we went back and infilled to 40 metres, because even though we were stepping out 80 metres at a time and hitting it. It's quite remarkable. But we did go back and infill the really high grade, because you need that certainty. And a lot of the corporates they believe you when they go there that you can join 80 metres up over there, but they want to see it drilled a bit closer. So we did that.
Okay. Yeah. And do you do your first kind of pass iteration of your resource in-house?
We're always doing it on the back of the envelope, okay? But because Micron did the first resource, we've always kept them up to date, knowing that there would be a second resource. Yeah. And later this year, there'll probably be a third resource. So, I mean, certainly we keep them up to date on the geology and our database, so it really is, you sort of know where you're getting to. And so, and I think you have to. That's why you keep drilling it, because you're adding value, right?
And that 15 metres you got at 6 grams, was that at Oko Northwest, or was that at kind of another prospect?
No, that was Oko Northwest.
That was Oko Northwest.
Which is about, so the most southeastern part of that is 500 metres away from the northern part of Oko main zone. So it's over the ridge, and it's a lateritised ridge. The actual geology does go through there. Yeah. We just haven't figured it out yet. That's the closure of the regional fold, and it gets a bit messy through there geologically. Yeah. But we've drilled holes where we've drilled a metre at an ounce, 2 metres at 8 grams. But the orientation of the bedding and the shearing is getting wobbled around through that fold closure, right? Yeah. So, and it's all covered with this laterite, so we've got no decent outcrop at surface.
So you're going to an easier place first. You're going to go lower hanging fruit.
Lower hanging fruit, but we will keep poking holes in there, and we will solve that problem. And that's one for Brett when he comes out in July this year as well.
And the 3 to 5 rigs that you're going to be using, are you going to basically take them off Oko main zone? And
exactly, and reallocate them along trend, yes, exactly.
And what are you thinking in terms of how to react to this kind of rising gold price? Are you going to just kind of ignore it and just pick it up in your lunchbox and just kind of drill and explore this year? Or what's your engagement and your kind of corporate approach for the, I know we've spoken about the exploration approach, but let's kind of think about the kind of corporate approach for 2024.
Okay, so we appointed Cormark as our advisors last year, knowing that somewhere down the road here, M&A will open up, and we'll be a part of that, as everyone in the industry is. So we're aware of it. Obviously, we've got our big neighbour next to us, so yeah, very much aware of it. But at the same time, we just keep expanding the discovery that we have, with the knowledge that somewhere down the road, Anglo didn't come in to own 11%, but there's other companies out there too. So we're very aware of that, and we still own 26% of the company ourselves, insiders.
Yeah.
So when it comes to that period, whenever that may be, we think we'll be able to sit down and have adult conversations with whoever, whether we merge it or get bought out or something, but that is still the end game.
And you mentioned that you're getting kind of re-meetings, or some of the meetings you had presumably with institutions 10 days ago or last week. And are those institutions that are calling you up again saying, perhaps we could sharpen our pencils and kind of find a way in?
Everyone always wants a block or something, right? But I mean, basically, at the moment, it's pretty tight. So, and we're seeing them in the last few days just go into the market and start buying. So that's a bit refreshing, because it hasn't been really happening for the last couple of years, right?
Build a position in the open market.
Yeah. I think, Anglo bought at 90 cents and we're only trading at 79.80, so I think you've got a bit of cover there.
I've seen in the past that actually when an institution does want to buy in the open market, it's surprisingly refreshingly easy to build a block, because they always say, we can't get the liquidity. But if an institution's out there, actually over a few days, a week or two, you can actually build a decent position.
Exactly. When you start moving a stock, the traders, people will trade out of it. There's people who buy it lower and sell higher, and that's the liquidity in the market. And you just got to go find out where the price is. So a bit of price discovery isn't a bad thing. Yeah?
Price leads to liquidity, really.
Exactly. Yeah. So hopefully we're seeing that in the markets. It's been a long time, but I hope it carries on for the next.
And have you got any insight into the gold price? What's the crystal ball saying?
I don't really know, and but I think it's got a good base to it. I think it is bank buying, so that's fundamental buying. So I think it's solid where it is, and it'll keep slowly creeping up, and it reflects inflation. So in my mind, a good mine's always been a good mine. 8 grams is a good underground mine, and 2 grams is a good pit, because the oil price goes up too, right? So but I mean, I think gold, I don't think it's going down, and I think it should steadily keep rising for a while, I think.
Good. Well, Dan, thank you so much. Thanks for the update. I look forward to seeing the resource update in the next kind of 3-4 weeks. After that, is it kind of drilling results? Is that what we can look forward to, kind of on a rolling basis? Yeah, drilling results, and really, as far as news goes, we'll probably do some more advanced metallurgy as well. And we'll just continue to de-risk the project by converting the claims from mid-scale mining claims to PLs, so that an environmental process is going, so to shorten that timeline to be able to permit a mine. But it's results driven, and we'll be drilling all year, and we hope to make a few more discoveries here. So. Great. Well, good luck. Go get them. All right. Thank you very much, Merlin.